Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas, our special edition. Amazing award winning journalist and political fixture in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, Ben Joravsky. I'm Murri Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from three separate studios, two at the edge of the Great Red Divide, and one in the heart of the Big Blue City, where you can find all of our previous episodes at heartlandmamas.com, on all podcast platforms, YouTube, and probably part of the Demcast USA network. You can see Ben Joravsky live on his live stream. Can they see you, Ben, when you're on? Or do they just hear you?
No. Just hear me. We used to be able to see me.
Ben, we can't hear you. They can't.
What happened? You heard me before.
Oh, I can hear you.
No, we can see you.
Why can't?
Yeah, you're fine now.
Oh.
So,
but to answer your question, the old days when I was in the studio at the Chicago Sun-Times, you could see me. But then when the pandemic came and moved to my attic, we no more seeing. Which we may change, Heidi. We keep talking about doing. Let's get a camera and show the world what it looks like up here. We haven't done that yet.
Well, we know that you're the hipster from Chicago, hanging out by the alley.
That's me, man, Mr. Hipster. Yes, I'm going to smoke a joint any minute now.
Yes.
So Ben has an amazing show, and we met Ben back a while ago.
When we were candidates.
Well, actually, I was a candidate, but you had met him because I was out of the primary, and then I got to meet him afterwards when we started our show. So Ben has always been a supporter. For those of you who don't know him, he is a progressive voice. He is fearless. He will take down the biggest and best Democrat with anyone else if he doesn't think what they're doing is right. So thank you so much for coming on today, Ben.
Oh, my pleasure. You guys have been on my show so many times. It's like old school day here with Heidi and Murri.
Nice. Okay, so we're going to start and talk a little bit about, since we're talking about ethics and we're talking about being above board, I want to talk a little bit about the Illinois crime bill.
All right. We talked about this in the show today, the Illinois. But by the way, the Ben Joravsky Show, let me just plug this. Yeah. Jorav as in victory, SKY. All you Heartland Mama fans should be listening to my show as well. Very lefty politics, as Murri was saying. And I just want to say, before we get to crime bill, that I met Heidi. I love just telling this story, Murri. I met Heidi when I was doing a radio show for WCPT. We would go out to the precincts, go meet the voters. It was something the station came up with. I really enjoyed doing it. And I met Heidi, and I was stunned because I don't even know where I was. Please don't hold it against me. Because I never know where I am. I'm so Chicago oriented. I know Chicago, Evanston, and Skokie. Basically, those are and everything else. I apologize to everybody in the state of Illinois. So they drove me out. I'm somewhere, and I just figure, all right, everybody is going to be sort of like in the middle of the road type of Hillary Clinton types. Heidi Henry comes in there. She goes, "I'm for the New Deal." I'm like, okay, FDR.
Yeah.
And it's been love ever since. And Murri, I met you when you accompanied Heidi to a show. And so I'm like a unofficial member of the Heartland Mama. I'm like the Papa wing of the Heartland Mamas.
There you go.
I would say so. You're the Papa urban wing of the Heartland Mamas. How about that?
Okay.
And for me, I grew up in Glen Ellen, so I was just they used to call it the Northwestern. Now it's the Metro. I used to be a train ride from the big city. And in the 70s, late 70s, that's where I hung out. And Chicago in the 70s wasn't probably the place. It's not like it is now, And we used to take the train down, and we'd carpool down. We'd see every concert in Chicago. We'd go down to the old Billy Goat, down below the street, and hang out. So sometimes I live my Chicago days vicariously through your show because I listen. I'm like, oh, I know where that is.
And see, now Heidi and I are on the flip. My time in Chicago, I grew up out in the boonies, and my time in Chicago was spent for about 6 years after college, before babies. That
So
was
you were one of
my
those
time.
young singles,
The
rocking and
Reader. I gotta
rolling.
mention the
Yeah.
Reader. You know, Ben,
Yeah.
you started with the Reader, and I hope tell your story. But you started. You've always been a big fan of local politics, and please tell us. I love
Well,
that.
all right. Murri, I'm utterly obsessed with local politics, and well, let me admit, I'm obsessed with politics in general. But I moved to Chicago in 1981, and a few years later started writing for the Reader, which folks don't know what the Reader is. It's the alternative newspaper in Chicago, and if folks don't know what alternative newspaper is because they're millennials, this was like the hippie newspapers. And if folks don't know what the hippies are, I can't help you. If you don't know what a hippie is, forget it. But I was. So we were we were left of center. We weren't afraid to criticize the powers that be in the city of Chicago. And that, Murri and Heidi, was my career, my writing career throughout the 80s and the 90s and the O's. And I didn't concentrate on politics outside of Chicago. I concentrated on Chicago politics. So Murri, if I'm going after the man's a Democrat. And I always tell this to the Republicans. I have fought more Democratic bosses than you have. You've been cutting deals with Democrats. Bruce Rauner was the biggest phony in the world, former Governor Bruce Rauner, because he was cutting deals with Rahm. He was cutting deals with Daley.
Yep.
You know, and then all of a sudden he comes in, he's like, oh, I'm going to show those unions. Where was Mr. Toughness back in the days when you were just kowtowing to Daley and Rahm? Yep. And so that was my coverage. I was critical of Madigan going back to the 80s. Michael Joseph Madigan, former House Speaker, former chairman of the Democratic Party. I know we're going to get to that, Murri and Heidi. And so, you know, it was relatively late in life that I began broadening my focus outside of Chicago and started talking about national politics and state politics. And that's when I really came face to face. This has been the last 10 years with the utter fraud that is the Republican Party in the state of Illinois when it comes to fighting the machine. They're the biggest toadies when it comes. They were nowhere to be found. None of them were anywhere to be found in any fight that mattered to anybody in the city of Chicago when it came to principles of good government. They just allowed Daley to do whatever he said.
Have they ever had principles of good government? The Republicans. I mean, we have to ask that, right?
Growing up in DuPage County, Murri, is in the 60s and 70s, you know, and I think it started to change with Nixon and those that could justify what he did. And then, of course, they all became Reaganites, and it was the first political fight I'd ever had with my parents. How can you pick Reagan over Carter when you say you're a Christian? So, I mean, it didn't make sense to me. So, and that's when the change started. And of course, here in Illinois, you know, after we elected that half-white guy, Barack Obama, the Tea Party came out, and all the bigots came out, and all the racists came out, and the Tea Party just flooded money into Illinois, home of Barack Obama. And here we are with just the mess of the Republican Party in Illinois. And that brings us around to the crime bill, because where I live, oh my God, you'd think we were defunding the police and setting all the criminals free by signing this bill into law. It's the Safety Act. And the Safety Act is a police accountability bill. It just means you can't beat the crap out of people to get a confession anymore. And we know
we're going to have problems in Joliet, because what is my mayor going to do? Mayor Thumper. You've heard about Mayor Thumper, right? Odekirk?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So what's he going to do? He can't beat people up anymore. I mean, he's not even a cop, but he still does it. So, I mean, wow, there's a lot that are going to be really PO'd about this. And the sheriffs, like we talked about, the sheriff's departments are the ones I think that are going to give the biggest backlash because of that independent streak of being the highest officer in the land and being able to follow the Constitution as they see it. That stupid constitutional sheriff crap that we've talked about in the past. I really think that's where they're going to get the biggest pushback from.
Well, okay. I feel myself getting ready to go on a riff. And I'm going to pause briefly while the train goes by, because this is my position, Heidi and Murri. Okay, it's specifically about Republican opposition to the crime bill. I'm not certain if any Republicans actually voted for the crime bill. And just so folks know, the crime bill, as Murri and Heidi was saying, was signed into law, I believe it was yesterday, by Governor J.B. Pritzker. It does away with cash bail in the state of Illinois. And I think it has some other stipulations, like requires sheriffs or police officers to allow people who've been arrested to have 3 phone calls as opposed to 1. And in general, it is a movement toward criminal justice reform and sort of underscoring the notion that somebody who's arrested and charged is not yet actually guilty. There's a presumption of innocence. And this is where now you got me going, Murri. This is where the Republicans are utter frauds. Because when it came to Donald John Trump, and all the crimes that he was accused with, oh my God, they were all of a sudden civil libertarians. They were all of a sudden card-carrying members of the ACLU. They were all of a sudden, they had memorized the concept of the presumption of innocence. Alan Dershowitz, who is the lawyer that was always going on TV for Donald Trump, would talk on and on about the presumption of innocence and overreach of prosecutors. And they were the party of the defendant, so long as the defendant was Donald Trump. If the defendant is just some ordinary black guy on the west or south side of Chicago, oh no, suddenly they're law and order.
Right.
If the defendant's a bunch of MAGA hat wearers who bash their way into the Capitol, whacking cops over the head with a hockey stick, suddenly they're back to being Alan Dershowitz. Well, they have a presumption of innocence. Well, we're not sure that they're MAGA. Yeah. And, cash bail is really unfair. Why should any of them be incarcerated? So the biggest bunch of frauds in the world, Murri, they're the biggest bunch of frauds, Heidi.
Why they should
are
be
using this as a wedge issue. Go.
Here's the crossover, Ben. The crossover is they are a big bunch of frauds, but they also worship money and power. You can't get power until you have money or people with money to put you in those positions of power. And one of the largest income generators is the for-profit prison system, which operates most of our prisons. It's a moneymaker. It's one of the biggest industries that we have. Of course they're in favor of it. Keep those jail cells full.
Well, I could see why you didn't get elected when you ran for office, because language like that will have you dubbed as a Ben Joravsky radical in the 16th Congressional District. By the way, we got to talk Adam Kinzinger. You cannot allow me to leave this show without getting drubbed by Heidi for being too soft on Adam Kinzinger. So I'm writing that down as something to get. Heidi's nodding her head like, I can't wait to get at him on that one. It's my frustration with Republicans on this particular issue, like all issues, is this: they have no principles.
Nope.
Everything is just a tactic. Everything is just a strategy. So if somebody has no principles, how can you negotiate with them, Murri? How can you reach an accord? How can you cut a deal? You can't. They just shift whatever they have to say to make it convenient to wherever they are. So now Jimmy Durkin, the head of the Republican Party in the House, is all of a sudden vehemently opposed to the crime bill. Really, what's the difference between the crime bill and the criminal justice reform that Donald Trump was supporting when he was president of the United States? Nothing. It's the same freaking principle. And where was Jimmy Durkin to oppose that? He wasn't anywhere, because it's not that he has an opposition to criminal justice reform per se. It's a tactic. So when he can fire up his base by scaring them about black defendants, he will do so. When he can fire up his base by somehow or other treating law enforcement as overreachers who are trying to go on a witch hunt against Donald Trump, he'll do that. No principles, all tactics. That's my view of the Republicans when it comes to the crime bill.
It's terrible to watch them posture out here. The Tea Party has commandeered part of the Tea Party messaging through 2020 was to commandeer all the local social media boards, like the Marseilles network and the We Speak Morris or whatever they're called, and they commandeer them, and they have multiple accounts so they can keep reiterating the same non-facts, alternative facts with every single post. So if you post something about the crime bill, they're going to come back at you with the Sheriff's Association talking points, or the Freedom Movement talking points, or the QAnon talking points on this. And since we have active chapters of all of those things right out where I live, I watch it go. And of course, I track stuff back and I find out, oh man, this isn't a real person. This is same guy, five accounts. So they can spout off over and over again and just keep agreeing with themselves. And
so they're talking to themselves. Whoa, Heidi, I'm sorry. I got to ask. Wait, whoa.
Okay.
So back it up. No. I know that they create multiple accounts, but they respond to themselves, like patting each other on the back. So is it like multiple personalities on social media?
Yes.
Like, is he his own troll farm? That is mind-boggling to me. How much time? Heidi, wait a minute. How much time do you have on your hands? And how insecure are you that you have to boost your own shit with different fake characters?
Listen, when you live in your mother's basement and you don't have a job, you can do a lot of things.
But you only eat organic food, right? That just got me. You got to keep going.
How many of those boards have I been kicked off of, Murri? Really?
All of them. And because of you, I have all of those crazy right-wing stalkers out here following me on social media. I get all these requests, and I'm like, dude, no. No, thanks,
That's
Heidi.
a partnership.
Yeah.
Aside from the crime bill, I think this kind of pulls into a little bit when we're talking about criminal justice reform, and we're talking about the double standard you mentioned. That the Republicans in Illinois hold. It's federally. It's everywhere, right? I was listening to the Senate the bicameral hearing on the insurrection with former chief of the Capitol Police, Sand, as well as Irving, and the Senate Sergeant at Arms. And one of the biggest takeaways was listening to the different questions from the reps and senators from both sides. When I started being obsessed with politics, I was like a little kid, right? And so I used to have to look up and see who was talking or, wait and listen to who it was. And then I would do that just to confirm if someone said something interesting. And now it's to the point that I don't even have to listen or look up because I can tell whether a Democrat is speaking or a Republican. Ron Johnson today blamed the insurrection on fake. Like the guy, maybe Ron Johnson talked to the guy who talks to himself on social media, because Ron Johnson basically said the same thing today. He said, it was Antifa dressed up as Trump supporters. He claimed that on the Senate floor. How is that even? I'm boggled. We need criminal justice reform for our politicians.
I have not seen the hearings because I was doing my show when the hearings were going on, so I will absorb it later. Did anybody question Ron Johnson when he made that accusation, or did they just let it go?
No, they just let it go. Of course, that's the part of the problem with congressional hearings, is that's why I respect Katie Porter so much, because she goes at it from a perspective that we want to know. She wants an answer. And so many of these senators, particularly the Republican senators, love to get their sound bites in, their stories, when they have no argument, when they have no rationale for being all of a sudden blue lives don't matter, when, you have this, I kid you not, I listened to the ex-Capitol Police chief, and he said, we expected the megas to be very calm, like they were in November and in December, and the second mega march, and the DC chief said they had weapons. We stopped them with weapons on the streets of DC. How did you not know? And the double standard that these Republican senators put out there was just infuriating to me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's part of a larger struggle, that just, first of all, establishing the truth. So remember, the insurrection occurred right after a Donald Trump rally that was called to prevent the stealing of the vote, and I have that in quotes. So they made up an issue. This is how Donald Trump's done it from the beginning. He makes up an issue, which he is non-existent, and then he solves it. So it's like he lost the election. He got clobbered by Joe Biden. But then when he did, he made up an issue that there's voter fraud and it was actually stolen from him. And so as a result, his believers congregate in Washington and then storm the Capitol. So you're already dealing, Murri and Heidi, with something that's made up, which is the fictitious stealing of the election. Now you have to deal with the second fictitious event, that it wasn't MAGA that stormed the White House. It was actually Antifa. So does that mean that it was just Antifa that showed up to Donnie Trump's rally? Does that mean that no MAGA people showed up? Is Chris Miller, the state rep from downstate Illinois, whose wife is Mary Miller, the congresswoman, he was at the rally. Is he actually an Antifa, infiltrator? I mean, it's so bizarre. They feel, again, I'll repeat, the difficulty of dealing with modern day Republicans of the 21st century in particular, is that they have no principles. They don't abide by facts. They feel no obligation to concede the truth. Yeah. So you can't have a discussion with them. You can't have an argument with them. You can't have a debate with them. It's like, what's the point?
They live in this, thank you, Kellyanne Conway, for alternative facts universe. The flat earthers, you can't even reach them to talk to them. And it used to be that when you were conservative, you were just concerned about which bathroom people were using, controlling the autonomy of women, and who went home with who at night. That was their whole thing. Now they've got this other alternative reality, and they've embraced it. And we're watching the Republican Party come apart. But I can't believe how many people that I knew were crazy Republicans before that are just so, they're not devoted to the country. They're not devoted to the Constitution. They're not devoted to the party. They're not devoted to the flag. They're devoted completely to Trump. It's insanity. Just,
well, that's part of our problem.
Yeah, I can't believe what I'm
saying. To anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. That's a whole other. That's a whole other show. But Amy was heading the Senate panel, and she did make a comment after Senator Johnson was done to the effect of, as we've come to expect from Senator Johnson, conspiracy theories. So at least she did toss that in on the record, and he couldn't respond.
I love Amy Klobuchar.
Amy Klobuchar's just kind of like been rocking it lately. You got to give her mad props. Right.
Well, I'm going to check that out, and I will give her mad props if she did that, because I believe that it's absolutely essential at every juncture to stand up to the lies of the Republican Party. And, I got great experience, Heidi and Murri, at this, because in so many ways there's some parallels to being a writer in Chicago in the 80s, 90s, and 00s dealing with the Democratic machine, because the Democratic machine was essentially part of a larger power structure in the city of Chicago that basically controlled everything in the city of Chicago. So if you stand up to a Madigan, if you stand up to a Daley, you're also kind of standing up to everybody else, the powers that be in the city. And so you are constantly forcing yourself to assert what is the truth. If it be something about municipal financing, which I spent years and years writing about in the city of Chicago. Other people have written years and years about policing issues and police torture and criminal justice issues. You have to consistently go back to the well and write the story again and repeat the story in order to force the powers that be to change their narrative. So in some ways, reporting on the Democratic machine has prepared me for this new era where I comment on Trumpism in the Republican Party. And the funny thing is that the Trump people act like they're different than the Democratic machine. They learned everything they could from the Democratic machine, and now they pretend like they're different.
So in talking about the Democratic machine, we can't ignore the big donkey in the room, and that would be Mike Madigan.
Very well done, the donkey.
That's my segue.
She did good on that, didn't she?
That's smooth.
That was nice.
Yeah, that was good.
So we have to talk about, because Michael Madigan loomed large in both of our races, and we often talk, Murri and I talk about why, we hear it all the time as activists about, we have to find people to run for these positions. Okay, find somebody to run. Then they have to pass muster. And then it came to Madigan whether or not they would be supported or promoted or not. And I remember getting, after I didn't win, I get my little letter from Dick Durbin that I think everybody gets, because we get this form letter saying, hey, I didn't win my first race, but I came back and did it again. And but women have a different story. Very few women will run a second time, and a lot of it goes back to what we had to deal with when we ran. So now Madigan has stepped down as Speaker of the House. He pulled his name, and somebody else, Chris Welch, was elected. He's stepping down from his elected position. And what is the name of the man that they put in his place? I can't think of his name. Young guy, like 26.
Yeah, he's 26-year-old. Hold on.
Right?
He was a staffer.
He was a district staffer first.
Codette. Edward Codette. Edward Guerrera Codette.
Mm-hmm. So now Mike Madigan is stepping down from DPI. Now, part of me as a Democrat, lifelong, or since I became an adult, a Democrat, I'm a little terrified. Nobody's still. The only guy that was left of the Chicago machine, that was left of the machinery, the workings, the ironwork of the Democratic Party in Illinois has gone, I'm out. Now, I was all in favor of him getting out, but at the same time, I'm like, holy crap, now what do we do?
No, Heidi, I gotta say, no, I think it was the best thing that could have happened. I saw the resignation coming. But I did not see him stepping down as the head of the Democratic Party in Illinois, so it was surprising, but I think it's the best thing he could do. Mike Madigan, I have worked countless campaigns. It's the same formula. It's the same slam ads. It's the same story every time. The way they run it is treat voters like idiots, put a lot of money, send a lot of mailers, and knock a lot of doors without any substance. Yeah. Yeah. We don't know what policies are going on. We don't have any talking points. We don't know how to talk to people. But God bless it, they'll have you knocking on the doors, and they'll be sending mail out, and nasty mail will come out about your opponent. Other than that, they haven't adopted, especially during the pandemic. I watched during the pandemic how the Victory Fund was willing to try new things, and how other campaigns were able to try new things, but he wouldn't. They wouldn't move anything to online or to virtual, and the fact that's just very standard for the DPI method. So I'm really looking forward to having a new voice in there who understands that campaigns have changed. I talk to people all the time. Heidi, we're always talking to people. And you know what's going to win elections? It is understanding the issues. Your voters, even the hairy Bubbas, are more educated than you think they are. They actually want you to tell them something. Now, it's up to you to make them believe it, but they want something. And the DPI doesn't do that. So I'm glad he's gone. I think it's good.
So the hairy Bubbas. Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
So Ben, who do you think is going to be the new head of the Democratic Party of Illinois? Who do you think is going to be able to wear that enormous pair of shoes and wield that enormous club that is all money and power? Who is he going to give that to? Because he's you know how it worked with Speaker. We knew it was going to probably be Chris Welch. I don't know this other kid, but he's 26, impressionable, and a former staffer. So who is he going to bless or knight?
Well,
or DPI.
I actually think, and again, as I sit here, there's two candidates who have been positioned as replacements for Madigan. One is Robin Kelly, the congresswoman from the 2nd Congressional District, and the other is Michelle Harris, who's the alderwoman from the 8th Ward in the city of Chicago. And when I saw that Pritzker had endorsed, Pritzker and Tammy Duckworth endorsed Michelle Harris, my initial thought, and accused me of being very cynical, and I stand accused of that, was Pritzker's running the party. And he's putting a figurehead up there who will in no way be able to challenge him in a systematic way. So it's not going to be with Madigan. Madigan was the chair of the party, and everybody knew he ran the party. With his successor, and I have successor in quotes, it'll clearly be that person will be a figurehead. And it'll be Pritzker's game. It'll be Pritzker's money. It'll be the people who do the work will be Pritzker appointees, etc. So that was my initial reaction. Then Durbin came in, and he opposed Michelle Harris and came with Robin Kelly. So I'm like, okay, what kind of I got to do a deeper dive in this. Like in intra-Democratic Party rivalry is going on here. But either way,
some weirdness we have been seeing for a year at least. There is, and I have no concrete evidence of it at the moment. I can't put it in front of you, but I have strong inclination that there is not a lot of love lost between Dick Durbin and JB. Not that they have any bad blood, but if you look at them, they're two very different types of Democrats, right? Dick Durbin is Chicago Democrats, keep it just progressive enough to stay in office. Don't get too crazy. I'm really kind of a conservative. There's a lot of Dinos that fit that mold. And that's how he's built his power base, and that's how he's filled all his seats. So,
Murri froze.
I'm back.
Yeah, I look at it this way. J.P. Pritzker's primary political concern is his reelection. So that's in 2022, right around the corner.
I was wondering if he'll run again.
He's not. Wow.
Oh, yeah, he'll run again.
I can't imagine him not running.
I only wondered if after the 4 years of hell dealing with coronavirus and backlash and the stress and the pressure on him and his family, he's done an amazing job, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he said, screw all of you people. I did what I was supposed to do and y'all screwed it up. So if he ran again, that would be wonderful. I would be a big supporter, but I don't know if I would if I were an issue.
I hear you. Now you're having what you just stated is a very human response to the situation that J.P. Pritzker is facing. And I'm not, and by any means, saying that J.P. Pritzker is not human, but what I am saying is that he's clearly a very ambitious politician. And if he were not to run for re-election, that would really hurt his long-term political career, because he'd be walking away from a lot of challenges at the very moment. Follow me, Murri, where he could reap the benefits of them. I just read an article in the paper yesterday where economists are predicting that we're going to have a boom once this country is sufficiently vaccinated enough where people go back to clubs, go back to restaurants, go back to movies, go back to their offices. Already the Chicago real estate market, I don't know if you guys follow these things, is starting to pick up a little bit as investors are anticipating what's going to go down the road a year from now. So whoever's governor of the state of Illinois, if these predictions come true, in the year 2023, will be going around clipping ribbons, patting him or herself on the back for a job well done. I mean, you went through 4 years of hell. Now do the victory lap. And
you're right.
That would be my advice to him, And
who let the people out? Who
who let the people out? And me, I'm in this attic since March. I can't wait. I was talking to my wife. I might get that vaccine. What restaurant are we going to go to first? We're going to go to, because I'm a big movie goer. I haven't gone to a movie since February of 2020. I've never been this long without actually going to a movie. I'm a huge Bulls fan. I haven't been to the Bulls games in years. You know what I'm saying? High school basketball, I haven't been to a high school basketball game in years. So if the rest of the country is like me, we're ready to get out there. And so for J.P. Pritzker not to ride that wave, that would be nutty. And he's too smart, in my humble opinion. So his number one priority, presuming he's going to run again, is to get himself reelected. It's not going to be like Michael Joseph Madigan. Michael Joseph Madigan, number one goal was to reelect his caucus members to hold on to his power.
Right.
There was no ideological worldview. So he would take a look at where you guys win and automatically assume that a Bernie type lefty could not win a general election. So I'm going to put him some mainstream centrist who acts like Mitt Romney, and that's what I'm going to run. And if this radical lefty Heidi Henry thinks she's going to get elected with this New Deal stuff, let her go on the Ben Joravsky show. That's as close as she's going to come.
Let her wear out 10 pairs of shoes knocking doors.
Yeah. And so, guys, that's the reality. And when I look at these two candidates, neither of them, Robin Kelly or Michelle Harris, is like a lefty ideologue, a Bernie supporter. Neither of them, as far as I know, Robin Kelly, more than Michelle Harris, has any expertise outside of the city of Chicago or Cook County, the surrounding suburbs. Yeah. They wouldn't know. They'd be as clueless as I am. If I had to go to the 16th congressional district, every time you guys come on the show, I make you explain, where's the 16th again? Because it's, first of all, so freaking gerrymandered. Yeah. It makes no sense. And so Heidi would have to take them around to show them where the various towns are. Murri, you'd be showing them where you went to high school, and they wouldn't know. So it's not like you're taking some political geek who is obsessed with Illinois politics, who knows exactly what Ottawa, Illinois is and what it means, and knows what a LaSalle County Democrat is, as opposed to, a Kane County Democrat or a McHenry County. You know what I'm saying? That's not who they're putting in charge. They're putting in charge someone who will make sure that J.B. Pritzker gets reelected.
It.
So I don't believe this is a great day for Illinois Democrats.
Would you rather
because
have
I still don't
at the helm?
No.
Ha, okay,
no.
I'm with you. All right, we're on the same page.
Okay,
I don't think it's a great day, but it's
no. Okay, yeah. Michael Joseph Madigan, you guys come on my show all the time and tell me, I learned this from you, Murri and Heidi, about how despised Michael Joseph Madigan is in your neck of the woods. And then I've had other people from your neck of the woods, a lot of 16th congressional, when Danny B would come on the show dancing and dodging because she didn't want to get Michael Madigan mad at her, but she knew that all her constituents hated. So I get it, what Michael Madigan symbolized to anybody outside of Cook County.
Right.
Sorry.
Someone.
Oh, sure, Heidi. Way to go. See, I thought it was going to be me. The chaos.
Shut off.
It's Michael Madigan calling Heidi to give her grief.
My dentist.
Oh, Tim's on the phone with you. Oh, he's gone. Sorry.
Yeah. It's my dentist. I've needed to get braces since I was an adult. I found out I needed them, and I'm missing a tooth. And I promised my dentist I'd finally get it done last year. And then my dad was sick, so I put it off. And then we went into COVID, so I put it off. That's him calling me saying, Heidi, we need you to come in. I don't want to be 60 years old in braces, okay? I just don't.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So, but, here's my thing on these two different people that they're putting out there. Is sometimes they want you to look over here so they can do this, so they can, do something else. And I just wonder if it's look over here, typical.
You think
Democratic
there's a third person that they're going to usher in?
No,
you think there's someone
I think they're trying to get us to look over here at somebody shiny, and then they're going to put in who I'm sure it'll go to whoever JB wants. And I think his instincts, considering he was an outsider, I can't say I got to know him, but I got to hang out with him a lot when I was running because we were both politics at that time. And he's a very genuine person, but he's got really good instincts. And the other thing, when you were talking about running for office, or would he run again, Murri? The one thing I can tell you is the guy really loves the state. He really cares. And I think he's probably sat down, and I've met his wife and kids. I'm sure they came together as a family and discussed about this long haul and running again, and I think they're all in, and all in Illinois, isn't that one of the catchphrases?
Honestly, JB has done a great job, and I know I after running
so much more progressive
several times, he is genuine, and I guess the difference is, I imagine Mike Madigan was genuine once upon a time, maybe, but
once upon a time,
there's a big difference in understanding of what people outside of Chicago might need, understanding human reaction and response, and caring. And like you'd mentioned, Mike Madigan cared about staying in power. He cared about making money and keeping his caucus together, right? That's what
and
he cared about.
controlling the money.
JB, of course, you are probably right. He would want to run again. And he is political, but it's different. I guess maybe it's all I cling to in order to not cry at night, that he does have a different motivation than a lot of politicians. It is one where he's not using this for power because he has a shit ton of money. He could get power by donating to campaigns and doing whatever he wants, right?
Yeah.
The guy loves the state and really wants to make it better. And that's like I told you, not all billionaires are assholes. That one's a good one.
Well, I would urge him to run for re-election. Not that he would listen to me necessarily, but for all the reasons I've already cited, it makes no sense not to run for re-election. And particularly since the toughest challenge is the one you just faced. This pandemic's been no joke. Yeah. And we spent so much time on the show over the last year contrasting three styles of dealing with the pandemic. One, Donnie Trump, when he was in the White House. Two, Lori Lightfoot as mayor of the city of Chicago. We spent a lot of time talking about that. And three, J.B. Pritzker. And of the three, in my humble opinion, and this is me speaking, not Heidi Henry, not Murri Briel, J.B. Pritzker was the most consistent, and he took the most grief, and he had to bridge two separate communities. He had to deal with the Trump MAGA lovers who didn't even recognize that the pandemic was real and were resisting any attempt to wear a mask or have to socially distance. And to face them, to face their lawsuits, to face their abuse, their anti-Semitism, their Nazi signs, to do all that. And Lori Lightfoot could skate. She could make all proclamations she wanted. Nobody opposed her. I'm just pointing out an obvious thing, that J.B. Pritzker paid a political price, as Murri was talking, criticism, abuse heaped on his family, in a way that horrible. A mayor in a blue city where everybody is wearing a mask and pretty much believes that the thing is real will not have to pay. And Donnie Trump, of course, was out of his freaking mind. And anybody who follows Donald Trump, that's another reason. How could you give any credibility to the Republican Party, Murri Briel and Heidi Henry, when they follow Donald Trump? Donald Trump, just think about it. Let's go back in time. Just think about it for a moment. When he appointed Coney Barrett to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, he wore a mask when he went to pay tribute to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, I don't know. I guess in his vision, when you pay tribute to a Democrat, you have to wear a mask out of deference to Democrats. Then about a week later, at the height, when he had the reception at the White House for Amy Coney Barrett, no masks. And so it's funny. It was more dangerous at the reception than it was standing next to a casket outside the Capitol. So that's the Republicans. Yeah. They perpetuated, they made things worse with their policies. So to me, they have no credibility at all when it comes to the pandemic. And that's why I say Pritzker had to deal with them. And so I give him a lot of, I'm with you, Murri. I give him a lot of respect for how he's handled himself over the last 6 months or so.
I have to say, Pritzker has ended up being a lot more progressive. He's pretty hardcore progressive. I mean, this crime bill, we're the first state in the union for no cash bail. The first one. That's trailblazing progressiveness. Progressivism,
legalization of marijuana. Legalization of cannabis without a voter referendum. First state in the nation to do it that way. And now New Jersey just followed today. I got to tell you, he is really progressive. Yeah.
So, and I love that about him, but I'll tell you what, Lori Lightfoot has been a kind of a disappointment. I was so excited about her, and she just, I don't know.
Well, that's funny because you guys.
Go ahead, Ben. No, go, please. You're a guest.
No, I was saying that it's funny to hear you guys say that because my experience with Chicago mayors is that the further away you get from Chicago, the more popular they are. So Lori Lightfoot is still widely celebrated, in my humble opinion, by liberals. You guys are to the left of liberals, but by the conventional liberals outside of Chicago. So, for instance, like Steve Colbert, anybody in MSNBC, who else? Trevor Noah. They would consider Lori Lightfoot like a safe guest to bring on their show. And all their people will like her. She's checks off all the right boxes. They're not paying attention to Chicago politics. They don't know about policing issues in Chicago politics. They don't know about economic development deals in Chicago politics. They don't know how she stonewall Anjanette Young's lawyer. And they don't, her bizarre Republican-like attitude toward the Chicago teachers. They don't know the Chicago Teachers Union. They don't know about that. So Lori Lightfoot. So the fact that you guys are critical of Lori Lightfoot, and you're outside of Chicago, I don't know what to make of that. Actually,
I will say that those same talk shows also would bring Rahm on, and what is he a staple on ABC now? Him and Chris Christie. It's like, are you kidding me? Every Sunday morning, I've stopped watching.
Still have a microphone. Seriously, honestly, why is anyone putting that? Just like why does Chuck Todd? Why am I not in Chuck Todd's seat right now? Aside from the giant bags under my eyes, I'm smarter. Oh, frick it. My poodle who's sleeping on the footstool on my couch next to me is smarter than Chuck Todd.
First of all, the bags under eyes could be taken away with like that with a little makeup. Okay, Murri. So, you don't have to worry about this. And the news and views and opinions of Murri Briel or those of Murri Briel do not necessarily reflect Heidi or Ben. I love Chuck Todd. No, just kidding. I just wanted to say that.
No, it's pretty widely known how much I despise Chuck Todd. Anyway.
So speaking of media, that's what we wanted to talk about, right? We wanted to talk about the media.
I was going to do another segue meet. Yeah.
Well, I did it this time. Na. Yay. You probably had a better one than me, but that's okay. So,
No, I just... Go ahead, Murri.
No, go. I'll box you. You better go.
Well, okay. So... Ben, briefly, when I was in college and when I was in high school, I wanted to be a journalist. So I started studying journalism. One of the many things that I picked up, and I didn't drop it because I did go on to write for numerous course publications and newspapers and so on. But over my time of writing things from the late 70s to current, and I don't write for anybody right now, I've watched all of our little newspapers disappear. I've watched some big newspapers. Remember, we used to have 3 in Chicago. One went away and came back. Yeah. 4. 3 or 4. Yeah. 5. Yep. So now we're down.
Wait. There were 5. But anyway, when you and I were kids, it was 4. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, but we've watched them come and go. And now the Tribune's been absorbed by this big conglomerate, which the Tribune I've always had issues with, but that was one of the papers that I always read every day. I think from the time I was in junior high, from the time I could read, I was reading the Tribune and the Sun-Times. And I would read those because the columnists were so good. And so many of them have retired or been replaced or have gone, instead of running individual columnists that are just dedicated to one paper, they'll pull stuff off of the AP or to a syndicated columnist, and we lose the flavor. I have a feeling that what's going to happen to the Tribune is it's going to get pared down to U.S. News. Not what U.S. News. What is it? One USA Today. Where it's just like a homogenized bit of news. There's just nothing there. And out in the rural areas, all of our small newspapers have been gobbled up by one conglomerate, and they run the same columns. Shaw Media will run the same columns from one end of Illinois to the other end, within their base. I used to be a columnist for our local paper. I'm not anymore. Not because they didn't ask, but because I would never write for that company. It's just me, and I should get off that principle because I think I'll write an op-ed maybe. But we have to be able to have local voices. and we have to have local flavor to our news, because we lose the authenticity, I think, of our communities by
And that's
giving that
something
up.
that happens across every platform, Heidi. I mean, print media in general has dropped dramatically as far as the revenue resources that they have. That's why there's a lot of cuts. Like everything happens. The internet caught a lot of publications by the
Yeah.
wayside. They didn't catch up. And so, but it also goes farther than that. As these media moguls like Shaw Media, they didn't just absorb newspapers. They absorbed the online sites. They absorbed radio stations. They absorbed TV stations. So,
Yeah.
Ben, I know you mentioned that when you were young, or we had a conversation one day about Bill Clinton and how you mentioned the things about Bill Clinton, but I never got that information out where I was, because literally I got 3 channels, ABC, NBC, and CBS. The news was on at 5, 5:30, and 10 o'clock. The small radio would cover a little bit, but they didn't even get, they'd pick up AP pieces and whatnot, but it wasn't the detail or the understanding that we have today. And as that slowly became eroded, it takes over everything. So, so you had all these options. I didn't. Now we still don't have options out there, and those options are even more limited, right? Because we only have one media network out in this area to provide all of our information, unless it comes from the web. I mean, 1 out of 5 media sources are conservative based. Okay, 1 out of 5, and now they're all owned by like 10 companies. But they have such a proliferation with the loss of small independent newspapers, with the loss of local media. How do folks like you, like Heidi and I, keep getting that voice and building that movement?
Wow. It's a challenge, Murri. It really is a challenge. And I just think about the Reader, where I've been writing for the Reader since the 80s, and how fat the Reader was, and how much money was coming into the Reader for classifieds that kept us going in the 80s and 90s. And the Reader had that attitude that bordered on arrogance, like, we're going to let lefties like Ben publish. We don't care what the powers that be have to say, because we're making money and we can afford to do so. And they gave me freedom, not just me, but many. John Conroy did a lot of stories about police abuse.
Right.
Many other lefty writers or left of center writers, and now of course, like here at the Reader, we're really struggling to figure out what's the next step. And so we're doing fundraisers, and I'm making regular pitches on the podcast. Be a Ben head, support the Ben Joravsky show, because we're like, literally, I feel like a folk singer, done with my gig. Now I'm passing the hat. And that's essentially what it's come down to. We have to do that. I can't be above it. I can't pretend that I'm bigger than that. That's where we're at. And the Tribune's going to be that way. And the Sun-Times, I noticed Sun-Times, they have some of their writers are underwritten by grants that they've received from not-for-profits. And more and more newspapers are going to have to scramble to figure out how to raise the money to pay their basic bills, because their sources of revenue from the past have been consumed by giant media, giant internet firms like Facebook and Google and Amazon.
Right.
And there's a lawsuit in Australia that I've been following from afar. I haven't talked about it on my podcast, but I've been following it from afar, and probably will bring a guest to talk on it. And that's where the Australians filed a bill that would force Facebook to pay newspapers that they run on Facebook. It'll be a way of sort of honoring copyright laws.
Yes.
And Facebook responded by saying, we're going to shut down
Right.
all of Australia from news feeds.
Wait a
as
minute.
punishment.
Mark Zuckerberg was a selfish prick. Oh, don't pull my leg, Ben. He's a great guy.
The Zuck, man. Yeah, he's in business for Mark. He's not in business for the promotion of news. Like, he was so worried about right-wing Republicans that he said, I'm going to put anything from a First Amendment, free expression standpoint, I'm going to put allow anything to go on Facebook, and now he's pulling back from that in the face of the insurrection. So yeah, it's a real challenge, and it's a challenge to get people to pay for something that they've been getting for free.
Right.
And I've had this conversation with my friends in the media business for years. I've said sooner or later it's going to catch up to the consumer. And so, for instance, like if you want to get Crane's Chicago business story that's on the internet, you get hit a pay. As soon as you click on it, you hit a paywall. And you know what I say? Good for you, Crane's.
Yeah.
Good for you. You know, I mean, make them pay for it. You got to pay Greg Hines. He's the writer. It costs money to put out Crane's Chicago business. So good for you guys. I subscribe to 3 newspapers right now, which gives me complete internet access to all 3 of them. And I feel it's like I'm paying my fair share. When I go online and try to get like let's say a LA Times story, I hit that paywall. I'm like, good for you, LA Times. You protect yourself. And if I really want to get that article, I'll pay for it. And if I think I could survive without that article, I'll just move on and life will go on. But that's where we're at, Murri. And we're trying to retrain people to start realizing that the product costs money to produce.
Yes.
And if you just take it for free, you're going to ultimately kill it because it can't sustain itself. That's just a harsh reality. I'll tell you who's even tougher on this is my wife. You know, she's a businesswoman, and God bless her. She's like, she gives me such a hard time. Like, we wanted to watch a movie the other night. And what was the movie? A Promising Young Woman. I don't know if you saw that movie, but I'm not recommending it, but I liked it a little too much. I'm a little embarrassed to say. But anyway, the point is it costs $20. I'm like, we're not paying $20. And she's like, how dare you? You know, it costs money to make this movie. And I'm like, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Pay the $20. Let's watch the movie. And that's the reality.
Hey,
costs money. Let's go.
So why can't we get some rich donors like the Republicans have done? Where is our Democratic Mercer to set up these more liberal or at least even keeled media conglomerates to push those messages? If we have to fight fire, wouldn't it be good to fight it with fire?
Well, I got mixed feelings on this front. I used to work for one of them at WCPT, and he fired me. So he fired me, my big lefty mouth, and got me in trouble.
Turks? Come on, let's take the Young Turks like vehicle and multiply it across multiple platforms. Democrats aren't good at that. Republicans are good at proliferating athletes' foot disease in a high school boys' locker room. All right, they're great at that.
What a
but
metaphor.
Democrats are not good at that.
And they lie.
I have 3 teenage boys, man. It came in my head. I was thinking fungus. What's infectious? No, more like a flesh-eating bacteria, but
like
maybe
Ebola.
not lethal. I think I'm dark, Ben. I'm dark.
Okay, so I've seen some I've read some articles about and when I hit that paywall, I pay it, and I subscribe to a lot of things online. And we are Ben heads. Although I have to tell you, because I signed up on my phone, and I only got to the alley part, it didn't load the rest of it. I'm thinking that's all it is. I clicked that.
Wait, didn't load? Did you see the rest of it eventually?
So then I'm like, man, we would have been down for more. So we'll have to change that. But yeah.
God bless you.
So, but it was my phone, and I live in the country, and so the thing that I have been reading about is that the Biden administration, through the National Endowment for the Arts, is working on trying to make to have these endowments for newspapers, for print media, as well as for digital copy. And I think that may have to be how we go in order to have good reporting and in-depth conversations, to have columnists, to have people that do the research, that do the deep dives, that we're going to have these endowments. And, I've always been, even though I live out here, I'm a big supporter of the Reader and the Sun-Times. And I don't take the Tribune. It's hard to get things delivered to my door because my door is a couple hundred feet back from the road. So it's hard to get paper delivery
and
out
the
here.
paper man won't come by because she comes running out with her Biden pride flag, and the paper man is scared to death. He's afraid to go on that property.
Wait, how do you have a Biden pride flag? Like,
but no, okay. So in our Indivisible chapter, the one I'm in, the Grundy LaSalle group and the Ottawa Indivisible group, I'm the keeper of the flags. So in our old studio here, you can't see it, but there is probably 30 flags on poles, rolled up tight in a corner over here, and I bring these to all of our events. I have everything from like Earth Day stuff to Black Lives Matter to Pride. We had a custom JB one made. I have Biden flags. We have flags for every occasion, and
so
multiple
if you want a
flags.
cowbell,
Plus we
a
have
flag, or a snarky T-shirt, go to Heidi. If you
well,
want a smart ass, come to me.
Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna make this proposal. When I get my vaccine, and when you had yours, and we're able to come together again, I'm going to do a remote show from where Heidi is right now, that barn. I've been seeing that barn in when the Heartland Mamas come on my show, and I see it in the background. And I propose we do a joint show. Dennis and I will come out to the barn. We'll do a Ben Joravsky show from the barn, and we can have it filmed. I think it'll be a blast. I can see the flags. We can bring in whoever you think is worth talking to. I'll leave that up to you guys. You know the people out there better than I do. And
you just need to give us
we'll have a fun conversation.
You know how the Republicans have a weigh scale? Okay. Like they have a paint chip of color. So they well, you need to give us a crazy scale. So, you know, let us know what you're looking for as far as it, because we could go anywhere. We know a lot of people.
I hear you.
I'll tell you what, our individual groups would show up, and our Democratic groups would show up in droves. They would just be over the moon by that.
I think it would be a great idea. And I've talked to Heidi knows this because I've said this to her many times. I don't know if I ever said this to Murri, but I got a great deal of love for Dems out in the stick. I make fun of the sticks all the time. I make fun of myself for not knowing where you guys are. But whenever I went out there, I was like, oh man, you guys are the real deal, because you're dedicated to a cause and a party that's gonna lose. In Chicago, everybody's they throw away, they discard their beliefs, even though they don't have to, because they're in a safe city, but they throw it away and they make compromises that they don't have to make. And when you're out where you guys are and you're dealing with MAGA, wherever you go, that's guts. So what I got nothing but props I want to give. You can bring anyone in. I don't care how crazy they are. And we'll sit down and have a conversation.
We'll put out an ad for Harry Bubbas.
We've got those too.
Yeah, we have. It's a little scary.
Danny B, who ran 16th Congressional. Neil Muhammad, who ran for 16th Congressional. I love them both. And I come out there. We'll have them all there. And,
that's a deal.
I do have a lot of respect for the real true Democrats out there in the boonies and the sticks. I don't know what else to call it. And you guys are it's like Pritzker. You're face to face with MAGA. You're dealing with these guys. I got a lot of love for you guys.
The sticks has the Sarah Bingamans and the Julie Gondards and the Danny B's and the Heidi Henrys, and we all live out here.
She
and
leaves
we all
me
have
out.
To do the battle. Well, you don't live.
What am I, chopped liver? I'm a sitting over here. Like, come on. I know I got some clay, but I don't got.
I keep hoping I'm going to get Murri to move a little further west, so we're both out here in the sticks.
Isn't there a chicken place out by you, Heidi? There's a good chicken place.
Oh,
Rips.
Oh my God!
You gotta go to that chicken place.
We'll take you out there.
Yes.
Well,
I'm gonna get some chicken when I'm out there.
We're gonna have to wrap up, but I want to tell everyone again, please, guys, we are gonna plan this amazing show. I want you to tune in and listen to the Ben Joravsky show. It is on Central Standard Time. You want to know anything, you're more than likely gonna find out about all politics. Lots of local issues going on in the state of Illinois and across the nation. And Ben, please tell us again how to watch you or hear you.
Yeah.
Just Google my name, JORAVSKY. Benjoravsky. You start writing Benjor. Next thing the thing will pop up, show. You click on it. You go to Ben Joravsky Show. It's so simple. Even me, a boomer, even I figured it out. So yes, go there. And let's give a shout out to Dr. D, my producer, my partner in crime, Dennis.
Yeah, we love Dr.
We
D.
love him.
Dr. D.
Ben, I screwed up your name on our title for our live feed today. I apologize. I spelled it J.
Oh, spell it. You and about a million other people.
I know,
yeah, it's all Murri's fault.
Jor. Yes.
I have one really pressing question that I wanted to ask, and this is one of those hard-nosed questions that you need to answer. I always hear you talk to people, other guests, and you ask them about the high school they went to and the sports that they did, and you never ask Murri and I.
Because we talk about horseback riding all the time with you. I got you a woo, yeah, you. I think Murri was
not shooting foxes; she's chasing chickens. So,
Murri, you were a swimmer, weren't you?
No, I was not a swimmer. I was a gymnast, and then a soccer player. But I was the speech theater kid. As well, and track.
What high school did you go to?
Ottawa Township High School. I held the 100-meter dash record for 20 years in that high school.
Wow!
I got beat, and then I busted that girl's leg with a knee. I just took her kneecap out. No, I'm totally kidding. I didn't.
She's joking, ladies and gentlemen. This sounds like Promising Young Woman. That's a movie, a revenge fantasy, psycho revenge fantasy movie I was just alluding to. And Murri, what you did was kind of in accord with what the Carey Mulligan character was doing in the movie. Just saying, okay?
I said, how much crazy do you want? But Ben's had us on the show, so you know. He can handle crazy.
So we have an online comment that I have to bring forward, Ben, that wants to see you ride a horse when you're out here. So we'll
you getting me on a horse? Two things. One, I'm not going on a boat, and I'm not going on a horse. And I'm not going skiing. I don't go for boating, skiing, or horse. But I will happily watch Heidi ride a horse, and I'll be like, "Good job, Heidi. Where's the chicken?"
I'll be staying in the car because I'm allergic to horses.
Yeah.
So I won't be out there watching.
No, you're not going to be in that horse.
No way.
I'll look at the horse. Nice horse. We'll go jogging with Murri. Murri and I will jog together. That's what I'm hoping to start jogging.
We could do yoga together.
Guys, you think I'm joking, but we're going to do this thing when I get that vaccine.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get mine. It's like my husband retired, and we thought we'd do all this traveling. No. We just went on the
thank you so much for coming on our show. We love you. And guys, please tune in to Ben Joravsky. Find Ben, Jor, not like an idiot, Jar. It's Jor. Don't be a Murri. Jor. It will pop up. Benny J, Ben Joravsky, thank you for being on our show. Hey guys, tune into the Mamas Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually at 3 o'clock, unless we have something special going on like today. And find all of our previous episodes at Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com, all podcast platforms, YouTube, and proudly part of the Demcast USA network. We'll see you later, everybody. I hope you loved our show as much as we loved having Ben on. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Ben hung up.